Bill worked in a pickle factory. He had been employed there for a number of years when he came home one day to confess to his wife that he had a tremendous urge to stick his penis into the pickle slicer. His wife suggested that he should see an therapist to talk about it, but Bill indicated that he'd be too embarrassed. He vowed to overcome the compulsion on his own. One day, a few weeks later, Bill came home absolutely ashen. His wife could see that at once that something was seriously wrong. "What's wrong, Bill?" she asked. Do you remember that I told you how I had this tremendous urge to put my into the pickle slicer? Oh, Bill, you didn't. Yes, I did. My God, Bill, what happened? I got fired. No, Bill, I mean, what happened with the pickle slicer? Oh, she got fired too, the man says. Mental institution, a nurse walks into a room and sees a patient acting like he's driving a car. The nurse asks him, "Charlie, what are you doing?" Charlie replies, "Driving to Chicago." The nurse wishes him a good trip and leaves the room. The next day, the nurse enters Charlie's room just as he stops driving his imaginary car and asks, "Well, Charlie, how you doing?" Charlie says, "I just got into Chicago." "Great," replies the nurse. The nurse leaves Charlie's room and goes across the hall into Bob's room and finds Bob sitting on his bed furiously masturbating. Shocked, she asks, "Bob, what are you doing?" Bob says, "I'm doing Charlie's wife while he's in Chicago." Old retirees were talking about naughty acts in a cafe. When they finished, the two retirees pay their bill and leave the cafe. A young man sitting next to them has overheard the conversation and smiles to himself, thinking it would be quite amusing to see two old retirees going at it. He gets up and follows them. Sure enough, he sees the two old retirees near the factory. The little old lady pulls off her panties and lifts up her dress. The old man pulls down his pants and grabs the lady's hips, and the little old lady then reaches for the fence. Well, what follows is 40 minutes of the most athletic the man has ever seen. The little old man is banging away at the little old woman at a pace that only can be described as phenomenal. Limbs are flying everywhere. The movement is a blur, and they do not stop for a single round. Finally, they collapse and don't move for an hour. The man is stunned. Never in his life has he ever seen anything that equates to this. Not in the movies. Not from his friends. Not from his own experiences. Reflecting on what he has just seen, he says to himself, "I have to know his secret. If only I could like that now, let alone in 50 years' time." The two old retirees have by this time recovered and dressed themselves. Gathering the courage, he approaches the older man. He says, "Sir, in all my life, I have never seen anybody screw like that, particularly at your age. What's your secret? Could you like that 50 years ago?" The retiree replies, "Son, 50 years ago that fence wasn't electric."